Everyone speaks English, right? So I can export my goods and services around the world and no one will care that they're just in English. In fact, people will buy just the same, right? Not so fast. I'm Jonathan Downey, this is Inside Interpreting, and today we're dealing with the most prevalent myth in business today, the myth that everyone speaks English, so we don't need to bother with localizing content and localizing ideas into another language. This was a point that was made earlier this week at the Scottish International Week conference in Edinburgh. More than one business leader pointed out that if you want your target market to take you seriously, if you want to be seen as a long-term player rather than just a fly-by-night operative, if you want to sell consistently, you have to localize your content and everything you do into the local language. It simply isn't good enough to use the business equivalent of shouting and speaking slowly in English and expecting people to buy. We've actually known that for a while. Common Sense Advisory brought out a now famous report which showed that even people who speak English as a second language prefer not to buy in English. They prefer to buy from websites that are in their languages. It makes sense. Even if you're a fluent speaker of a second language, you'll understand more and be persuaded more in the language that you grew up speaking than you will in a language that you learned at school. It makes a whole lot of sense. Yet why is it that mostly English-speaking companies go around with this belief that English alone is enough? Or perhaps it's because that some results are possible with just English. Some results are possible just taking a risk and finding a local person to do some interpreting for you if you need them. Some results are possible just in English. But the best results aren't. Certainly your target clients aren't going to take you that seriously. They're not going to think you're committed. They're not going to think that you care. And that's not the best image for any company to project to the people who they want to buy their products. There's also the more subtle disadvantage of doing business purely in English. And I'll explain it this way. Imagine you're negotiating with a company in Greece. And you're there speaking English and they're speaking English during the negotiations, but at some point there's a coffee break. And of course the people from the company gather round together in a little huddle and chat in Greek. At that moment, you've lost control of the conversation. They can be discussing strategy and tactics, they can be discussing how to mess you up if they want, and you don't know. Even in the negotiating room, they could start throwing around Greek things and you completely miss what's going on. I was once interpreting for a manufacturing company and the chief executive of the company said to me at the end of the event that he spoke fluent French, so he understood everything that was said. He just didn't understand what was going on. There's something about bringing in specialists, language professionals, there's something about bringing in natives from that country, there's something about building local partnerships that does more than just make your content available in Greek or Spanish or French or Dutch. There's something about committing enough to getting to know a culture that not only gives better return on investment than proverbially shouting at people in English, but it changes you. It changes your company, it changes your approach. It makes your marketing more intelligent, it makes your products more suited to the market. Business after business has found that the importance of localization of websites in another language, of working with interpreters, of working with translators, isn't just found in the extra understanding they give you. It's not just found in your ability to suddenly understand conversations that would have otherwise gone over your head. The advantage of working with language professionals is found in the fact that you have to adjust for them to be able to do their work. And in that adjustment, in that period of negotiation and working out how to get things right, suddenly you learn more about you and about your company than you could possibly have imagined. And that learning boosts your sales, boosts your output, increases employee satisfaction, allows you to build a more diverse team. That learning The momentary discomfort of having to learn how to work with a language professional might just be the key to long-term success. Does everyone around the world speak English? Well, even if they did, it would be a bad idea to rely on English. I'm Jonathan Downey, and this is Inside Interpreting.